Swaha means I'm asking for this. Now, all the prayers to Narasimha, this is the most powerful of all the havans. Madhva said it, Ramanuja said it, Shankara said it, all the Vaishnavas, Acharyas have said it. So it's very open portal for asking for wishes and blessings. So, concentrate. When you say Swaha, ask for what you need. All the prayers like I'm chanting today, Dwarasanama Stotra, Mantra Rajapada Stotram, so many Narasimha prayers. All these devotees are saying, the Lord will fulfill all your desires. So say Swaha powerfully, don't be timid. Like if you're asking for something from your mother and father, you're not saying it quietly, you're demanding it. As a child, that is your right. So He is our Lord and Father, so let's not be so weak in our... You're okay. Thank you so much. Put this on your wedding ring.
Index finger?
Yeah.
Ring finger.
Ring.
Ready? So please put your effort. You know what you need. Some of us need health. Some of us need wealth. Your grihasta, it's important. You have to pray for bhakti and material success. Like Prahlad Maharaj tried to duck out but he ended up being a grihastha, doing his duty. So he was a king. So Swaha, very powerful. So we're gonna close our eyes and we're gonna chant Om 3 times, and then we'll begin. Remember Swaha. Be loud. Om. Om Shri Lakshmi Narasimha Namaha Swaha. Om Shri Bhargava Narasimha Namaha Swaha. Om Shri Chatravat Narasimha Namaha Swaha. Om Shri Yogananda Narasimha Namaha Swaha. Om Shri Karanja Rama Narasimha Namaha Swaha. Om Shri Hobala Ugra Narasimha Namaha Swaha. Om Shri Krodha Varaha Narasimha Namaha Swaha. Om Shri Stanu Narasimha Namaha Swaha. Om Shri Veera Narasimha Namaha Swaha. Om Shri Jwalamukhi Narasimha Namaha Swaha. Om Shri Mohalo Lakshmi Narasimha Namaha Swaha. Om Shri Rakta Kunda Narasimha Namaha Swaha. Om Shri Ugra Stamba Narasimha Namaha Swaha. Om Shri Pavana Narasimha Namaha Swaha. Om Shri Ugra Stamba Narasimha Namaha Swaha. Om Shri Nava Narasimha Namaha Swaha. Madhvacharya is one of our gurus, or Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya. So Madhva focused on Narasimha's nails and what they represent. So there's a lot of misconceptions about Grihasthas shouldn't worship Ugra Narasimha. This is not true. This is false, 100%. Prabhupada never said it. None of the acharyas ever said it. He said we should worship Ugra Narasimha because the nails pour out envy, jealousy, and pride. And these are the 3 things Grihasthas face every day. So, Bhadranaka. Hari Om. Bhadranakaya vidmahe tikshunadang strayadimihi tano Narasimha prachodayat swaha. Om Bhadranakaya vidmahe tikshunadang strayadimihi tano Narasimha prachodayat swaha. Om Bhadranakaya vidmahe tikshunadang strayadimihi tano Narasimha prachodayat swaha. Om Bhadranakaya vidmahe tikshunadang strayadimihi tano Narasimha prachodayat swaha. Om Bhadranakaya vidmahe tikshunadang strayadimihi tano Narasimha prachodayat swaha. Om Bhadranakaya vidmahe tikshunadang strayadimihi tano Narasimha prachodayat swaha. Om Bhadranakaya vidmahe tikshunadang strayadimihi tano Narasimha prachodayat swaha. Om Bhadranakaya vidmahe tikshunadang strayadimihi tano Narasimha prachodayat swaha. Om Om Namo Bhagavate Narasimhaya. Namaste Justera Virabhava Bhadranaka Vadradang Strakamasya Marande Arande Tamo Grasya Grasya Om Swaha. Swaha. Abhayam Abhayamatmani Bhushidam Om Shrom Swaha. Swaha. Om Namo Bhagavate Narasimhaya. Namaste Justera Virabhava Bhadranaka Vadradang Strakamasya Marande Arande Tamo Grasya Grasya Om Swaha. Swaha. Abhayam Abhayamatmani Bhushidam Om Shrom Swaha. Swaha. Om Namo Bhagavate Narasimhaya. Namaste Justera Virabhava Bhadranaka Kavadradam Strakamasya Marandaya Tamograsya Grasya Om Swaha Abhayam Abhayamatmani Bhushidam Om Shrom Swaha Om Shrom Narasimha Namaha 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 Swaha. So Narasimha is the god of Tantra. And most of us, we don't know, but all mantras come from Tantra. In the West, they have a perverted idea of what Tantra is. But the deities of Tantra are things like Durga, Kali, Ganesha, right? All these. And they draw their power from Narasimha because the essence of Tantra is Narasimha. Shrom is his like almost bead mantra. And it's the foundation of all mantra. Shrom. So when you say this, you're directly approaching him, your mantra, through this sound. So a lot of rishis and yogis, even the Sapta rishis, would just sit and chant Om Shrom, Om Shrom, Om Shrom, Om Shrom, lakhs and lakhs of times. It's like a portal directly to his feet. So in Tantra, we're not supposed to chant a lot of these mantras. But Ramanuja, Madhva, Shankara, they gave us a few we can chant. But the mantras that Devi worships, like Kali, Durga, Saraswati, they pray to Narasimha. These are very powerful mantras, and they're meant for grihastas. They're meant to empower us and help our bhav and love to Narasimha to become very strengthened. So I'm going to chant one 11 times, and this is focusing on the success spiritually, materially, and your health and well-being. So I'm going to murmur it because you're not supposed to chant it out loud. And when I say Swaha, so this is a very, very special, all the Swamis that I learned from, this mantra I chant 11 times. This is a really potent mantra, and it was chanted by all of our acharyas. So, Om, Om. Swaha, 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 Om Shri Jyoti Narasimha Namaha Swaha, Swaha, Om Shri Chintamani Narasimha Namaha Swaha, Swaha, Om Shri Kevala Narasimha Namaha Swaha, Om Shri Girija Narasimha Namaha Swaha, Om Shri Kanaka Narasimha Namaha Swaha, Om Shri Rudra Narasimha Namaha Swaha, Om Shri Ramana Narasimha Namaha Swaha, Om Shri Yoga Bhoga Lakshmi Narasimha Namaha Swaha, Yoga Bhoga Lakshmi Narasimha Namaha Swaha, Yoga Bhoga Lakshmi Narasimha Namaha Swaha. So, one of our gurus, Vedavyas Maharishi, chanted a prayer, Vadasa Nama Stotra to Lord Narasimha. It's a very powerful prayer, and in that prayer he said, just listening to this, hearing this, you'll be success on all levels of your life. And you'll have attained darshan of Narasimha's Padapuja. Anytime the devotee says this, the Lord reciprocates. When the devotee demands, please, bless all of your devotees. So, one of my favorite mantras, because he is like the original Guru, Vedas. Hari Om Asya Shri Narasimha Dwarasa Nama Stotra Mahamantrasya Vedvyas Bhagavan Rishi Anustup Chandana Lakshmi Narasimha Devata Shri Narasimha Priteyate Jape Vinayogaya Om Pratamam Tumahajwala Dvitiyanto Grikeshari Swaha Swaha Dvitiyam Vatridam Shascha Chaturham Tuvisharana Swaha Swaha Shamam Narasimha Shascha Kashyaparamam Dana Swaha Swaha Saptamo Yatu Hante Chastamo Deva Vallava Swaha Swaha Navamam Prahalada Vararoda Samo Nantahastaka Swaha Swaha Garaso Maharudro Dvaraso Dranastata Swaha Chaitani Namani Narasimhasya Mahamantmana Swaha Swaha Mantra Raja iti Jnata Sarva Papa Vinashanam Swaha Swaha Kashyapashmara Kushtari Tapajwara Nivaranam Swaha Swaha Dvare Mahagore Sangrame Cha Jalantare Swaha Swaha Dijwara Arane Vyagra Choramayadishu Swaha Swaha Necha Manane Chaiva Samadam Paramam Subham Swaha Swaha Mavatyate Yastu Muchante Vyari Vandanat Swaha Swaha Vatyata Shashram Tu Labate Vanchitam Param Swaha Swaha Lakshmi Narasimha Namaha Swaha Swaha Narasimha Namaha Swaha Swaha Chandravatra Narasimha Namaha Swaha Swaha Nanda Narasimha Namaha Swaha Swaha Naranjaram Narasimha Namaha Swaha Swaha Hobla Narasimha Namaha Swaha Swaha Graha Krodha Narasimha Namaha Swaha Swaha Bolo Lakshmi Narasimha Namaha Swaha Swaha Stanu Narasimha Namaha Swaha Swaha Veera Narasimha Namaha Swaha Swaha Jwalamukhi Narasimha Namaha Swaha Swaha Kunda Narasimha Namaha Swaha Swaha Kristamba Narasimha Namaha Swaha Swaha Lakshmi Narasimha Namaha Swaha Swaha Narasimha Namaha Swaha Swaha Narasimha Namaha Swaha. So Lord Ram, everybody here loves Lord Ram, we worship him. When he was banished, one of the places he went was Ahobilam. So in Ahobilam, he prayed to Lord Narasimha, kindly bless all of your devotees that your debts will be removed. Now this doesn't mean like you owe somebody 10 rupees, $100 or something. This is not type of this debt. Karmic debts from your forefathers, from your last life, and coming lives. Lord Ram asked, when your devotees take shelter and you pray to you with love, kindly swipe this, make this, the slate clean. Remove all these karmic debts from your forefathers as well. So this mantra is very powerful, you know? Hari Om Devat Karya Siddhyartam Savastamba Samudbhavam Shri Narasimha Mahaviram Namami Mukte Swaha Om Lakshmi Dhavangyam Bhaktanam Vardayakayam Shri Narasimha Mahaviram Namami Mukte Swaha Mantramala Dharanam Shankar Chakrapaji Udaranim Shri Narasimha Mahaviram Namami Mukte Swaha Swaranat Sarva Papakyam Katraja Vishanashanam Shri Narasimha Mahaviram Namami Mukte Swaha Simmanande Namaha Tattik Danti Vayanashanam Shri Narasimha Mahaviram Namami Mukte Swaha Prahalada Varadam Shesham Daitishvarya Vidaranam Shri Narasimha Mahaviram Namami Mukte Swaha Grahi Apititanam Bhaktanam Abhyaya Pradam Shri Narasimha Mahaviram Namami Mukte Swaha Veda Vedanta Jaggesham Brahma Rudradi Vanditam Shri Narasimha Mahaviram Namami Mukte Swaha Ya Idam Pahate Nityam Runamochana Samagnidam Arune Jayate Satyodhyanam Shrigram Avyapiyat Swaha Shri Rama Narasimha Namaha Swaha Karanja Rama Narasimha Namaha Swaha Shri Rama Narasimha Namaha Swaha Karanja Rama Narasimha Namaha Swaha Rama Narasimha Namaha Swaha Karanja Rama Narasimha Namaha Swaha we've been told not to worship Lord Shiva, but this is also another misconception because Lord Shiva is Hari Hara. He's one and the same but different, and he is the greatest Vaishnava. And he's constantly sitting there in Mount Kailash, and what is he talking? Hari Kathas. So how can you not worship him? And through him you can get bhakti. Of course you can get material stuff, but it comes with a price because it's tantric. But if you ask him for bhakti, help you in your life, he'll give. So one of the mantras he chanted to Lord Narasimha, Mantra Rajapada Stotram, is very powerful. In the beginning of this mantra, most people don't know, Lord Shiva created this mantra, Ugram Vira Maham Vishnu Jwalantam Saram. This is from him. Now this mantra is technically only supposed to be chanted by renunciates, like sannyasis. Because in this mantra, he removes anarthas. What are anarthas on our spiritual path? Family and children, if we're honest. So I often tell people, maybe don't chant just this mantra exclusively. Now if you're in fear of death, this mantra is very good. Some problems with death, or you're scared, then you chant this. But the whole mantra is Mantra Rajapada Stotra. The first mantra, and this is Ugram Vira Maham Vishnu. So we're going to chant the whole thing. And it's one of my favorites because Lord Shiva's love for Bhagavan is unbelievable. When he chopped Ganesh's head, and he had to do tapasya to be free from his sin. Of course he doesn't have to, but God always is a perfect example, just like Ram. Same Krishna had, he also had to do these tapasyas. So Narada Rishi came and said, you have to do tapasya. Narada is always there. He's not on the sides of the demons or the devotees, Narada. He's very special. So he came and, you have to do tapa. Go to this place in Karnataka called Marvante. The ocean is there, and then there's a freshwater river. Very powerful deity. So Lord Shiva was there, and what is he? His tapa is just chanting the glories of Hari, Govinda, Keshavam, Janardhan, Vasudeva. So Lord Narasimha appeared because he loves one of his favorite is Narasimha avatar. Because it's a form that the Lord never manifests. He's so angry. Because Shiva is Rudra. Anger is ignorance. Who rules over ignorance? Shiva. So he was so flabbergasted by this form of Narasimha. He said many prayers to him like, I am shocked. How can you? This is my role. I love this. I love you in this form. He was praising. So he says in this mantra, Lord Shiva, he says, just thinking of Narasimha's name, not even speaking it. The Rakshasas, Yakshas, the Pishas, Bhoots, actually the ghosts don't really bother us, but the Rakshasas and them, they like to torture the Yakshas, Yakshini. They run away in fear, just thinking his name, what to speak of saying it. So if Shiva says this, then, and then he says in the end, anyone hearing this or reciting this mantra, all their all endeavors in their life will be successful. He didn't just say bhakti. He could have said you will get bhakti. He said all. So this is everything. You're performing bhakti. So I love Lord Shiva. So when Lord Narasimha appeared to him, Yoga Narasimha, he said, ask for me anything you want. Shiva said, may I never leave you. May we always be together. Narasimha said, always. We are never apart. You are my Rudra. And then his third eye opened. And some say it's not in the scriptures, but some of the acharyas, then he went into his third eye. And this became then Rudra Narasimha. So a lot of Shaivites and Krishna, Narayan worshippers, they create this politics, who's better and all this. Obviously Hari, but Shiva is non-different, but different. So, Hari is not meditating on Shiva, but Shiva is constantly meditating on Hari. I always tell them, there's your answer. So we'll give thanks to Lord Shiva for this amazing prayer. May he bless us. Om Ugram Veeram Maham Vishnum Jwalantam Sarvatomukam Narasimham Vishnam Bhadram Nityom Mrityum Namamyaham Swaha Om Vritotta Pula Vishalaksham Vipakshakshasha Dekshitam Nina Dastrastra Vishwadam Vishnu Ugram Namamyaham Swaha Sarvya Vyadadvatam Praptam Sabalogam Dideshtutam Nakagray Shakale Chakrayastam Veeram Namamyaham Swaha Aravastapatapatalam Mora Dvishta Trivishtapam Bhuja Pravishta Siddhistanam Mahavishnu Namamyaham Swaha Jyotim Sakindriyu Nakshastra Jwalindriyu Kramat Jwalanti Tejasyastvam Jwalantam Namamyaham Swaha Indriyera Pikana Sarvam Sarvatra Sarvada Janati Yo Namam Yadyam Tamam Sarvatomugam Swaha Narvat Simha Vachaiva Rupam Yasya Mahatmana Mahasatam Mahadam Stram Tam Narasimham Namamyaham Swaha Yanam Smaranat Vita Bhuta Vitala Rakshasha Rogatyascha Pranashati Bhishanam Tam Namamyaham Swaha Opiyam Samastriya Sakalam Badramastute Shriya Chapadraya Justo Yastam Badram Namamyaham Swaha Shatsvakale Sampraptam Satrum Satrugananapi Bhaktanam Nastate Jastu Mrityum Namamyaham Swaha Askaratmakam Yasmai Vidyatpana Nivedanam Tyakta Kaukilankamam Astute Tam Namamyaham Swaha Jnana Bhutatsvatav Sarve Hyatmana Paramatmana Atoham Apitedasya Pritimatva Namamyaham Swaha Shankananendaranat Proktam Paranam Tatvamutamam Tri Sandhyam Yapatetasya Vidyayo Shrishtavarate Swaha Shri Rudra Narasimha Namaha Swaha Shri Rudra Narasimha Namaha Swaha Shri Rudra Narasimha Namaha Swaha Rudra Narasimha Namaha Swaha Rudra Narasimha Namaha Swaha Rudra Narasimha Namaha Swaha Narasimha Namaha Swaha Narasimha Namaha Swaha Now we'll chat really. Hrim is Devi, Shrom is Narasimha. So this a lot of the saints say when you chant Shrom, she is very happy. When you chant Hrim, he is very happy. So we'll do this. I like to do it for a good amount of time. This is very powerful for grihastas to chant. It takes 2 seconds. Please check it. And once Swami told me in the Madhva tradition, Pejwar Swami, he said, gratitude is what's lacking in our bhakti. We do the rituals and stuff, but you wake up in the morning and you say, Bhagwan, I love you, thank you. We can do all the incense puja. It's nice, but that's like robotic. But my Lord, I love you. Thank you. My father, my mother. Thank you for this. I have good health. I have good wealth, good job, kids, whatever. Thank you. He doesn't need all the other stuff, but the acknowledgement. And I remember when I was like, wow, that's so. And then when you go to bed, just watch Netflix, whatever you do, but your last thing should be Bhagwan. Soja. Like that's the real daily sadhana. And then of course your rounds are there, but sometimes it's hard. We're tired. It's hard, but this acknowledgement is so powerful. Om Hrim Shrom Shri Lakshmi Narasimha Namaha Swaha 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 Om Hrim Shrom Shri Lakshmi Narasimha Namah Swaha. 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 You should have offered a little less. You can pass this around and give a little bit to everybody who doesn't have it. We're just doing a couple more, and then don't offer some. Okay? Just do a little, so you have some for the end. I know it's exciting, but you have. We'll just offer a little. The last one we'll do is the flower. There was some flowers. Any flowers? Oh yeah, cool. Oh wow, perfect. Thank you so much. Alright, cool. Alright, so Goddess of Fortune. You know, Lakshmi was so I love that when Lakshmi was there, everybody was like, you know, you should go to him. And she was like, I don't know him. So he's the only incarnation that manifested without Devi on his chest. You know how the marking is there? Like a pyramid? Or sometimes her feet will be there. Narasimha appeared without that. There's no Devi. It doesn't mean anything bad. It's just, it was so quick and so focusing on Prahalad. So it was the first time Devi, she's always humble, but she was humbled. She understood, oh, okay, the bhakta, he has to go. So the boy took shelter of Devi. Lakshmi said, Ma, touched her padakas, and then he went to Narasimha. And she was so happy. And Narasimha Chaitanya Upanishad explains her love. Like, seeing the love Prahlad had for him, this made her more ecstatic. Lakshmi is Devi, you know, Radharani, Lakshmi, it's all part of that essence of Radharani, you know. Om Mahalakshmi च विद्महे नरसिंह पत्नी च धीमहि तन्नो श्री लक्ष्मी नरसिंह प्रचोदयात् स्वाहा स्वाहा ओम महालक्ष्मी च विद्महे नरसिंह पत्नी च धीमहि तन्नो श्री लक्ष्मी नरसिंह प्रचोदयात् स्वाहा स्वाहा ओम महालक्ष्मी च विद्महे नरसिंह पत्नी च धीमहि तन्नो श्री लक्ष्मी नरसिंह प्रचोदयात् स्वाहा स्वाहा ओम महालक्ष्मी च विद्महे नरसिंह पत्नी च धीमहि तन्नो श्री लक्ष्मी नरसिंह प्रचोदयात् स्वाहा स्वाहा ओम महालक्ष्मी च विद्महे नरसिंह पत्नी च धीमहि तन्नो श्री लक्ष्मी नरसिंह प्रचोदयात् स्वाहा Om Mahalakshmi च विद्महे नरसिंह पत्नी च धीमहि तन्नो श्री लक्ष्मी नरसिंह प्रचोदयात् स्वाहा ओम महालक्ष्मी च विद्महे नरसिंह पत्नी च धीमहि तन्नो श्री लक्ष्मी नरसिंह प्रचोदयात् स्वाहा ओम श्री लक्ष्मी नरसिंहाय नमः स्वाहा स्वाहा श्री भारगव नरसिंहाय नमः स्वाहा स्वाहा श्री छत्रपति नरसिंहाय नमः स्वाहा स्वाहा श्री योगानंद नरसिंहाय नमः स्वाहा स्वाहा श्री रामकरण नरसिंहाय नमः स्वाहा स्वाहा श्री होमलौग्र नरसिंहाय नमः स्वाहा स्वाहा श्री क्रोध वराह नरसिंहाय नमः स्वाहा स्वाहा श्री लोहलो लक्ष्मी नरसिंहाय नमः स्वाहा स्वाहा श्री स्थानु नरसिंहाय नमः स्वाहा स्वाहा श्री वीर नरसिंहाय नमः स्वाहा ओम श्री ज्वालामुखी नरसिंहाय नमः स्वाहा ओम श्री रक्तकुंड नरसिंहाय नमः स्वाहा ओम श्री उग्रस्तंभ नरसिंहाय नमः स्वाहा ओम श्री भावना लक्ष्मी नरसिंहाय नमः स्वाहा पांचमुखी नरसिंहाय नमः स्वाहा ओम श्री ज्योति नरसिंहाय नमः स्वाहा ओम श्री चिंतामणि नरसिंहाय नमः स्वाहा ओम श्री कानक नरसिंहाय नमः स्वाहा ओम श्री गिरिजा नरसिंहाय नमः स्वाहा श्री केवल नरसिंहाय नमः स्वाहा श्री रुद्र नरसिंहाय नमः स्वाहा श्री राम नरसिंहाय नमः स्वाहा श्री योग भोग लक्ष्मी नरसिंहाय नमः स्वाहा योग भोग लक्ष्मी नरसिंहाय नमः स्वाहा योग भोग Lakshmi Narasimha Namah Swaha. So save the little grains you have left, and everybody take some flowers. Make sure you have this, handful. Om Narayana Chavitme Vasudevaya Dimitro Shri Lakshmi Narasimha Prachodyat Swaha. Om Narayana Chavitme Vasudevaya Dimitro Shri Lakshmi Narasimha Prachodyat Swaha. Om Narayana Chavitme Vasudevaya Dimitro Shri Lakshmi Narasimha Prachodyat Swaha. Om Narayana Chavitme Vasudevaya Dimitro Shri Lakshmi Narasimha Prachodyat Swaha. Om Narayana Chavitme Vasudevaya Dimitro Shri Lakshmi Narasimha Prachodyat Swaha. Om Narayana Chavitme Vasudevaya Dimitro Shri Lakshmi Narasimha Prachodyat Swaha. Om Narayana Chavitme Vasudevaya Dimitro Shri Lakshmi Narasimha Prachodyat Swaha. So you can take all the flowers in your hand. Oh, you ran out already? I told you, one petal at a time. So now we're really focusing on their lotus feet.
Mama needs it.
So this for that. This we're just offering the flowers. And I always throw it up because I'm imagining their lotus feet. I'm lower.
So everything, right?
Yeah, you just throw it up.
Only the flowers.
Only the flowers.
Yeah, the grains we'll save for the tournament. All of them.
All of them.
Hold them all in your hands.
Flowers and
Only
All the
flowers.
flowers.
Only flowers like take all the
All
flowers.
the flowers.
All.
We're just
This is
doing
the last.
We're doing one
flowers.
swaha here. So. Om. Om Narayana Chavitme Vasudevaya Dimitro Shri Lakshmi Narasimha Prachodyat. Om Narayana Chavitme Vasudevaya. Om Hrim Shrom Om Prat Sat Swaha. So everybody can stand. So the Purnirti is simple. So we're gonna do the swaha. You'll offer all the grains into the oven, but don't put it on top because then the smoke comes. Just put it around the fire. Everybody hears? Around the fire, not on the fire.
Around the
So on the third one, you'll hear me chant the swaha. So
What happened to you?
let's do one.
What?
Let's do one very powerful Om together. So. Om Govinda Keshava Janardana Vasudeva Vishvesha Vishwamarusudana Vishwarupa Shri Padmanabha Purushottama Pushkaraksha Narayana Achyuta Narasimha Namostute Om Pat Sat Hrim Shrom Om Govinda Keshava Janardana Vasudeva Vishvesha Vishwamarusudana Vishwarupa Shri Padmanabha Purushottama Pushkaraksha Narayana Achyuta Narasimha Namostute Om Pat Sat Hrim Shrom Om Govinda Keshava Janardana Vasudeva Vishvesha Vishwamarusudana Vishwarupa Shri Padmanabha Purushottama Pushkaraksha Narayana Achyuta Narasimha Namostute Narayana Achyuta Narasimha Namostute Swaha. Just put it around the fire, yeah. Thank you so much. So that was
Thank you. Thank you.
You know, Narasimha is such a prominent. As I just came from India, you know, I met with Narendra Modi. I've known him a long time, and he told me every morning, the first prayer he does is to Narasimha to protect Bharat and Sanatana. Because you know, India is under attack. So many. First it was the British, Gandhi, Nehru, everybody, and then you know they're trying to destroy Sanatana. So he prays to Narasimha, then Ram, Shiva. So when I was doing my research, you know, so many years, I had this understanding. I've only seen like 1,467 temples myself, but there's so many more. The four sects of Vaishnavism, right? The Madhvas, Ramanujas, the Shankars, and Gaudiyas. Shankar is a Vaishnava. Sometimes we criticize him, but he was Mayavad. First he was Vaishnava, then Mayavad, then back to Vaishnava. His Ishtadev or Kuladev is Narasimha. Same with Ramanuja, same with Madhva. Same with our lineage, Bhakti Vinod, Bhakti Siddhanta, they worship Narasimha. Bhakti Vinod's prayers to Narasimha were out of this world. The prayer we chant every day, Ito Nishima Parato Nishima, this was by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu when he was sitting in front of Narasimha in the Gundicha temple. So it's so important in our, why do you think Prabhupada made this prayer? Namaste Narasimhaya. And then Jayadev Goswami, the first Radha Krishna worshipper, pre-Mahaprabhu, pre-Janavama, he wrote the Geet Govinda. He was worshipping Radha Madhava, right? So he chanted this, you know, Tavakara Kamalavani, praising Narasimha. So we chant this every day. And now is the time for Narasimha. In this age of Kali, we need him to remove our envy, fear, jealousy. So I always tell everybody, just get into praying to him every day and watch what happens. I mean, from my own experience, you know, I've had very interesting experiences. Meeting with his devotees were my favorite. In the beginning, it was very selfish for me. I just wanted to find his temples. But once I realized his people are a slingshot to him, then I was immediately gravitated towards their conviction. Young kids, old women and men, middle-aged, rich, poor. The love they have for Narasimha is like mind-boggling. And even though I grew up in ISKCON, I thought I knew everything about Narasimha. When I went to India by myself in Ahobilam the first time, even in Ahobilam they told me, Swami, I said, any other Narasimha temples? And I didn't speak Telugu. I mean, we grew up in Gurukul learning Sanskrit, but they don't speak Sanskrit. Nobody speaks Sanskrit. Very few of the Brahmins. I just had a photo of Ugra Narasimha. So I said, is there any more other temples? And they were like, not really. Narasimha only belongs to Andhra. Now it's split, Andhra Telangana. Before it was just Andhra. And I was thinking, that doesn't make sense to me. How is there millions of Krishna temples, Shiva, everybody? Millions. And you're telling me there's only a few? No. So they said, okay, Yadagiri Gutta is there, Mangalagiri, you know, Simhachalam. They told me a few. But they actually, what I realized is they also didn't know. So then when I started traveling, back then there was no Google Maps. This is in the 90s, 96. I was a teenager. I left school. I despised school because I saw it as a waste of time for me. I didn't want to be a doctor or a lawyer, so I was like, why am I going to school? Making money is easy. Why do I need school to teach me? So I left the house. My parents, they weren't into it, but I was like, I never listened to anybody. Once I found out Narasimha was in Ahobilam, it was like a miracle. I didn't know about Ahobilam. Just by chance, I found a book by a professor. I was helping one Swamiji clean the library, and the book fell, and it said in English, the abode of Narasimha. I was like, what? What do you mean, abode of Narasimha? In ISKCON, they never taught us about Ahobilam. I knew Lakshmi Narasimha, Ugra Narasimha. There's no form of Prahlad Narasimha. Technically, there isn't. But 9 temples, it said, in the abandoned in. And I was like, what? Literally that week I left. And I had connections. My friend was dating the Indian ambassador. Visa in 1 second. And then another friend was owning an airline. My parents said no, so I just called my friends and I was gone. My 16th year. I ended up in a Hobalam by myself. I took a bus to Alagada. From Hyderabad to Alagada back then was like 17 hours. It's hardly, it's so close.
So
now
close.
the roads are easy. It was 17 hours. And then in Alagada there was only 2 buses a day. 6 a.m., 6 p.m. I showed up at 7 p.m. And they told, I said, bus is coming? And of course they said, which I thought bus was coming. So all these men and women were there, Babas, Sadhus, and the bus stand was nothing, tiny. And they're all sleeping together, and I'm like, this is so weird, why? But then, there's tiger. Back then there was tigers, and so I just slept with them. And next morning they woke me, the bus came, and we all went to a Hogan. And that started my addiction. And then I saw all the 9 temples. There was tigers. It was very wild. I slept in the temple at night, the bears came. It was so awesome. And then once they told me there's no other Narasimha temples, I was like, no, that's impossible. Of course there is. So then I went to Yadagiri, Dharampuri. In Warangal, there's a temple that now it's famous, before it wasn't famous, called Malur Swayambhu Swallow.
Kadri.
Country, so many. I started going. And nobody would speak English, but I would have my Narasimha photo and I had a small notepad. Always I would meet somebody. I learned in South they say Devasthanam, they don't say Mandir.
Yeah.
So Devasthanam is there and they would write in Telugu something and then they would take me to the bus driver. Back then the engine was in the front. I would have to sit there with the driver. He was talking so much stuff. I didn't know what he was saying. Probably complaining about his married life, who knows. So, and then sometimes I would sit there 1 hour, sometimes 5 hours. And then the driver would say, sometimes it was at night, 10 o'clock at night, he would stop the bus. I'm the only one left. And he would say, Narasimha. In the middle of nowhere. Jungle. Sometimes I would see a light and he would just say Narasimha. And they would never charge me. Because I would just wear I had my kamandalu, my padukas, and I didn't wear much clothes back then. Just a veshti and a chadar. And then I would bathe and keep the clothes on because it was so hot it would dry in 10 minutes. Here, and my copper kamandalu, I'd have water. So it was so easy. And I would show up in the middle of the night in the jungles of Andhra, and the temple would be closed or would be open. Yadagiri Gutta was open. I would go inside in the cave and touch the deities. Now it's a big business. Now you have to wait in line and you have to pay.
Yeah.
It's terrible. And it makes me angry. And I knew this chief minister, Lakshmi Narasimha. When he was doing this renovation, I told him, you should never charge money, and it should be, you should go inside the cave. You used to be able to go inside and touch the feet of Swayambhu Narasimha. The 3 forms are there. And sometimes the Brahmin was sleeping, 11 o'clock at night, and I would knock on the door. Sometimes it was in the hut. I would wake people, Archika, Swami. And then sometimes the Brahmin's wife would answer, and the Brahmin would just come, because they would eat late at night, 10, 11 p.m. He would stop his dinner and come with me, open the temple, midnight, and the whole village would come. We would do puja. And then I would wait for the next bus. I would ask them, where do I go? And I would just sleep for 2-3 hours just on the road. And then the bus stands used to be 4 pillars and just a roof. And then the bus would beep at like 5 a.m. and then I would go to the next place. I disappeared for like 6 months in Andhra. And back then there was no iPhone. There was STD, ISD. It was useless. So I would try to call my parents in America, it would never work. Disconnect. So I would become really angry.
But they will charge.
Yeah, they would charge always. I wouldn't pay, I would just walk away. And they could never argue with me. I would just... And sometimes I would hitchhike. Somebody was coming in a Scorpio, fancy Tata, and they would pick me up. 10 people in the car, and I would fit in. And then they would speak little English. I'd be Narasimha Somadevastana. I would already be going to one, but they would say, "Oh no, my uncle's sister's nephew's cousin's husband's wife's brother is a Brahmin."
They used to say.
Yeah, and then they would take me to another temple, and then from there I would find another temple. So in the first 6 months, I found 300 Narasimha temples in Andhra. And then my parents thought I was kidnapped, so they called the FBI and they were searching for me. And from Andhra, I knew there was more, but I wanted to go to Tamil Nadu. And the Andhra people were like, "Why do you want to go to Tamil Nadu? It's the only fishermen. It's useless." They were very negative. You know, in India, the states have their. My state is like Kerala is God's own country. They think they're God's own country. They call it that.
Yeah.
It's funny. So I showed up in Chennai. It's funny. There was a signboard, Cafe Coffee Day, American hot chocolate. And I had already overstayed my visa a month. Nobody cared back then. Now you're in big trouble. And I saw this sign, American hot chocolate. Oh, I need to have some Maya. So I walked in, with my kamandalu to the Cafe Coffee Day. And they were shocked. I went to the front desk. I said, "1 hot chocolate, please." It was the worst hot chocolate I ever had. And so I wasn't even able to be satisfied. But these 2 young girls, Tamil girls, they came to me. They said, "Hi, what are you doing here? Where are you from? You speak Tamil?" I was like, "Ille." I just wanted my chocolate. They were like, "Why are you dressed like this? What's your deal?" I said, so I thought I would tell them, "I'll be searching for Narasimha, they'll leave me alone, they won't have a clue." So I said, "Listen, I'm searching for Narasimha, I'm searching for Narasimha, now I want to drink my chocolate." And they said, "You're searching for Narasimha? You have to come home with us." I said, "I'm not coming home with you, you have to meet our mother." I said, "Why?" They go, "Trust me, if you like Narasimha, you have to meet him." So I go outside and with my padutta and everything, and all of a sudden these men come with machine guns.
Machine guns?
They were their bodyguards. These girls were very wealthy, very wealthy, powerful people. I didn't know. And then a big fancy car, like a Rolls Royce with the security cars. And they're like, "Come." I said, "What's going on?" They said, "No, this is our security. Just come." So I ended up from the jungle and buses into this Rolls Royce car, and then women on each side of me. So we go to their house, and it's a big mansion, and when I open the door, I hear the ding, 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 ding. I hear the bell. And the girls are saying, "Just go, Amma's there. Go inside." So I go to the house, and I open the door, and I see this little Amma, tiny woman, doing puja. She must have had 500 Narasimha deities. Gold, silver, big ones, tiny, and I was shocked. This was my dream ultimately. And she said, "Oh," because I made a noise, I was like, "Oh." She said, "Oh, I've been expecting you. He told me you would come." She said this about Narasimha. Now I was a little skeptical. I said, "Okay. He told you I'd come." Sure. Because in America we're taught to be skeptical of these mystical things. So it was very funny. So I sat next to her. She gave me the lamp, and I'm offering the diya. She said, "So listen, you stay here in the house. You sleep in front of Narasimha. I'll take you to his temple. He told me I have to show you some of his temples." I said, "You know his temples?" She said, "Of course, I love him. He is my father. He's my everything." Her name was Yadigidi Padmanabha. She was my Amma. So next morning, I woke up. I'm sleeping, and I hear so many people, hundreds of people. I'm like, "What's going on?" I wake up. She was very devout Narasimha. They considered her like a teacher. Because Even though she was her husband was billionaire, she could not have children. She was impotent, and her husband was also impotent. Both cursed. So she was getting close to her old age, 40s. So one day she was cursing Bhagwan. You gave me this body, and I can't even have a kid. How, she was saying, how you are such a rascal. Having her own discussion with God. So that night, Narasimha appeared to her and said, what have you done in your life? You have done no tapa, you have done nothing. You've only taken. Without tapa, how do you expect anything in this world? So she understood. So she went to one of my favorite temples, Sholingar, on the mountain. She took off her Rolexes, her 1 kilo Mangala Sutra, everything. And she wore a simple sari. She stayed at the base, living like beggar, only begging for food, for 1 month in Kartik Mas. And she would only go up the stairs. She was 45. She was going up on the knees and hands, like a dog. The last night of Kartik, Narasimha came in the dream. She was sleeping down. I will give you 2 daughters. These were the girls I met at Cafe Coffee Day. One will be born in this titi and the other will be born. And they were all born on Narasimha days. And she went everywhere in the world. She was so rich. She flew to Switzerland. She flew to America, New York, LA, to see if they can do this, whatever they do to make kids happen, this science stuff. No money could give her kids. But Narasimha gave it. So she committed her life to him. So I remember going to the temples with her was unbelievable. We went to Sholingar. The Brahmins went downstairs to get the water to do Abhishekam. She was, I don't know, she read my mind. I was thinking, in my mind there was this voice, touch me, touch me. And it happened many times in Andhra, these abandoned temples. I would hear this voice, touch my feet. Sometimes I thought I was going crazy because I wasn't eating anything. Sometimes I would have some kurkuri or a banana. For 1 week, nothing. So I thought I was going a little crazy, but then I would touch the deity, hug him, put my head on his feet, massage him. So the same thing was happening in Sholingar. So Amma told me, go touch his feet. Sholingar is a very famous temple, so many people. Nobody was there, just me, her, Mrs. Swamiji's left to get the water. She said, go touch his feet, now. And then I went in and I hugged him, touched his feet. She was manga, manga, manga. And then they came, the Brahmins. And then, so that temple is very special. And then she took me 4 or 5 other temples. And then I found hundreds by myself. And then I met her a few other times, and now she left. And she died, yeah. She lived a long time. But back then there was no WhatsApp. I didn't care. She wrote me her number and I would call her every now and again. Amma, I'm coming. And then we would do Darshan Puja and then she would cook. It was my favorite. I would stay 1 or 2 nights and then go. So from Tamil Nadu they were like, I said, oh, I want to go to Kerala. Any temples in Kerala? And the Tamils don't like the Kerala people. I didn't know this. They said, oh, nothing, they're just Christians. Only Christians. I didn't know what that meant. And I went to Kerala, and the first place I went, there was a beautiful South Indian Gopuram. There was the cross on the Gopuram.
Cross on the Gopuram.
And then there was a Garuda Stamba with a cross. I thought it was a mistake. I said, oh, maybe there's some construction going on. I'll go have darshan. Must be Vishnu or something. I went inside, and there was Jesus, Mother Mary with Jesus. And Mother Mary's in a sari, with bindi, bangles, and Jesus in like a dhoti. With a bindi, of course. And I was like, what the heck? Now, I love Jesus and Mother Mary, of course. She's like the mother. So I've always respected. But I was like, wait, this is like a temple. How are they here? And it was in Blackstone, like a traditional deity. I was like, everybody's coming. All the people are wearing saris and veshtis and with So I got on my knees to pray to Mother Mary, and I was actually praying, show me Narasimha. And the father came, Father David his name was, and he said from behind me, my son, is everything okay? Because I was wearing a veshti, it looked dirty, because I would just wash it, put it back on. And I had my kimono, I looked like a hippie, and no top, And I turned around and I said, oh, Father, no, I'm actually just here on a quest, like a journey. He said, what is that, my son? He looked at me like I was maybe some drug addict or something. I said, Father, I'm here searching for Narasimha. He said, oh, Narasimha, I know Narasimha. I said, you know Narasimha? He said, of course, I was Hindu and I converted. I said, oh, so can you take me to some temples? Kerala is a little unique. The temples are very hidden and they're very private. They don't let you have camera and none of this stuff. So I was like, perfect. He said, oh yeah, wait 1 minute. I'll take you to your churches, your temples. But first you have to pray with me in mind. I said, of course, Father. So he got down. Oh, Father, thy in heaven, kingdom come. After he was done with his prayer, I said, Jai Mother Mary, Jai Jesus. Let's go. And he had an ambassador. So he drove me to like 5 temples. We stayed together for 3 days. Father David. And he was so kind. Every temple we would go, he would always do pranams. He wouldn't pay obeisances, but in the south, they don't really pay obeisances. He was always he would come inside with his father outfit, And then the last day he said, my son, I have to go. I have my duties to attend. Sunday's coming and I have to get back to my congregation. He spoke perfect English. He said, but I have to tell you, I have to make a confession to you. My confession is, Narasimha is my favorite. And still, I worship him. He's my favorite. He's my father. I lost my father, and he became my father. So I was very happy. He also died, Father David. I went to visit him a few times. But then after he left, I found many other Narasimha temples in Kerala. And then from Kerala, Karnataka, which is like one of my favorite states, because there's so much wealth, gold saraswats, so much gold, and how they worship is like amazing. And then I just kept going, and then I got stuck. My parents wanted me to come back home, so I came back home. They were trying to force me into school, and I refused. But I knew some businessmen, so I was smart. I said, how can I stay in India, do something? How can I become an Indian citizen? I don't know, something. So I came back, did some work, immediately left back to India. Then I did Karnataka again, then Maharashtra, and then started heading to Gujarat, which is one of my favorite states, because they don't kill cows and they're very crazy about Krishna and Narasimha. So when I showed up at the train station, one guy says, hello, where are you from? Perfect English. Deepak Patel, his name is. Of course, Deepak Patel. I didn't realize he was a big mafia guy. Also, land mafia, and he owned all the construction companies in Gujarat, and all the building the bridges, and he owned all the spices. Billionaire. His father took from partition. Got all, so he inherited. So he said, hey man, what are you doing here in Ahmedabad? I said, well, honestly, I'm here in your state searching for Narasimha temples. Mandirs, I said, because Gujarat they say mandir. I said, you probably don't even know who Narasimha is. I was being sarcastic. He said, oh, wait, you know Narasimha? He said, I said, and then I said, you know about Narasimha? Because he was wearing fancy Western clothes, nice pants, nice gold watch, and I thought, he said, of course, he is my family god. I said, really? He said, where are you going now? I said, well, I was going to go to ISKCON. He said, no, come to my house. So we had a huge Gujarati Haveli palace, big palace. I met his great-grandmother was still living. She was 102. So, if you want to know anything, I learned quickly, ask the elders. They know, because they were living, you know. I'm staying now with Radhes and his father. His grandmother's 93. You know how old that is? That means she was alive in 1940, right? The World War, I mean, everything. She saw partition, everything. She was, imagine, she saw India so beautiful, like all this, you know, trash and plastic wasn't there. It was unbelievable. So Deepak's great-grandmother sat me down, and then that's when I fell in love with Gujarati food, kandi, dokla, and then Gujarati chapatis are very thin. You can have like 30 of them, and it feels like you didn't even eat anything. It's a piece of paper. You know? So I became, and then I got right to business. Okay, Deepak, ask Mom, where are the Narasimha temples? He said, I know some. I said, no. Ask, I want to hear from them. So he started talking to them, and then all of a sudden he was like, oh my God, I didn't even know there was a temple here and there. So he also had a big, fancy Mercedes SUV. Yeah. And if anybody knows import tax in India, it's like 200%. So the Mercedes here costs $40,000, there it costs like $300,000, something ridiculous. So he took me and we spent like a week together. Somnath, it goes on. Dwarka, there's 4 Narasimha temples, Bed Dwarka. And in the earthquake, the only temples that weren't destroyed were the Narasimha temples, not even a crack. So we traveled to the most crazy temples, and then one of the temples he dropped me off at, a woman was doing the puja, and that's not traditional, I've never seen that. But she was an older woman. I didn't know she was 105. She was taller than me. She was very white. I thought she was a white woman. ISKCON. She wasn't. Pure Gujarati. Blue eyes. So she was doing the puja of this Ugra Narasimha, white. The deity is a couple hundred years old. Now, I didn't know where I was. It was in the middle of the lion district in Gujarat. I didn't even know there was lions. So Deepak said, listen, the Ma wants you to stay here with her tonight. I have some work in Rajkot. I'll see you in the morning. I was like, okay. So Ma, the Pujari, made me sleep there at night. And it was a very small temple. They have the mandapa, and then there's just a small, thin metal gate, and there's Narasimha. So the mandapam is open, and she made me sleep with Narasimha in the altar. She said, sleep with him, you'll see him. So I was very happy. I had my little chadar, like, I put it on the ground, and I fell asleep very nicely in front of my love, Narasimha. All of a sudden I felt like I was being watched. I woke up and I heard this breathing, and like a cat. I love cats, and they purr. But this was like a really big purr. Like a weird. So I woke up and I kind of was like, I turned to my side and there was a huge lion. Outside not inside where I was, because there was a small gate. Sitting in the mandapam, licking his. And I was like, ah! So I jumped up. I'd already seen tigers, had run into a tiger, but this is a lion. Big man. He was so beautiful. She called him Simha. I found out later. So I immediately back up towards Narasimha, and I'm like hiding with him. And the lion just looks at me, he doesn't even care. And he gets up and he's coming to the gate and he's like smelling me. So I was like shocked, amazed. And then he just sat there. And I was so tired. You know when you're very tired, you try to stay up? I'm gonna stay up, I'm not going to. I can't go to sleep. What if he breaks the door down? But I fell asleep, right, with Narasimha. And the next morning I heard the gate opening and it was Ma unlocking. She said, Betta, are you okay? She spoke good colloquial British English, she spoke. I said, Ma, there was a lion. She said, oh, Simha, he comes every night. He guards the temple. I said, what? You didn't tell me? She said, oh, did he bring the babies? I said, what? No, sometimes wife comes with the babies also. They stay here. I was like, it was amazing. It was a very special moment. So she said, yeah, he's been coming since I was a kid. you know, like she knew him. She said, I don't think he was 50 years old, but she said my father knew him, my father knew his father, like generations of lions would come and stay there. So Gujarat was a very special state. So was Maharashtra, obviously, and Karnataka was out of this world. And then people were like, there's no temples in UP, there's no temples in Rishikesh, Joshimath, there's no temple. Actually, the Shiva temple up in Badrinath, this was, even though the Shaivites don't want to admit it, this is a Narasimha temple where Shiva did tapa meditating on Vishnu, Narasimha, up here. Now it's an exclusive Shiva temple. But the actual chronology is there, that it was a Narasimha temple. And the reason why Shaivites would go there, the true Shaivites want to have darshan of Narayana. So I found so many temples, Rishikesh, Badrinath, Joshimath, Gomukh, and then in Vrindavan there's like 30 temples. Haridwar, Bihar, and then I went towards Bengal. And just now, because of thank God for technology, now everything's on Google Maps. Before, I would go to the railway station, I would buy the map, open it up, and I would meet somebody. Narasimha Swami Devastana, show me. And then sometimes they wouldn't know, but then they would call somebody. And then I still have these old maps, and I had a marker, and they would mark it on the map. And then I would go to the bus driver, and then he would tell me which bus. And he would tell the driver, tell him to get off, and then they would always help him. Rickshaw drivers, bus drivers, whoever. There's always somebody I would meet that would show me him. Same in UP, and then Bengal, there's like, I haven't even touched the surface, it's like 500 more. And then Orissa, people don't understand. Orissa has more temples than Andhra. There's thousands. Kings of Orissa were crazy Narasimha devotees. And a lot of the temples were in ruins, they didn't get lost. But they're very hidden. And then again, I ended up in Tamil Nadu. So many years of my life, I was just traveling, doing Narasimha. And I became very addicted to this, addiction of him. And I started a business in India. How would I? Oh, when I was in Gujarat, back to Gujarat, that's where I met Modi for the first time. And that's how I got my OCI, or back then it was PIO. So Deepak, I did a favor for him. His daughter was in India, and her husband was in America. Classic story, like almost Bollywood story. She's longing for her PR, but she cannot get to him because she can't give visa. They wouldn't give her visa. So one day Deepak asked me, hey, can you do me a favor? Can you bring my daughter to be with her husband? I was like, of course, what's the big deal? Why can't she get a visa? I didn't know. He kind of tricked me. So I went into the American embassy. You can just, as an American citizen, you just walk in. And I went right to the counter. They said, who is she? I said, oh, she's my friend. I'm taking her to America, visit my family. They stamped her 1-year visa. No problem, nothing. So Deepak paid for our ticket, went to her, I met her husband, I'm still friends with him. So Deepak was always offering me money, like crores. He was so wealthy. I said, why do I need money? I have to go to America anyways, so she can just come with me. He said, okay, is there something I can do? I said, of course, I want to be like an Indian citizen or something, so like a green card. He said, oh. So then that's when I met Modi and all these big shots. So I got that PIO back then. And then I never had to worry. I could overstay my visa and go to the FRO guy and I'd be like, haha, I have a PIO. They would never bother me. So through that connection, I'm very grateful to Deepak because, he got me that thing, which in a sense was illegal. But anyways, it happened. But it got my mission complete, seeing Narasimha. Everything was Narasimha. Even my businesses in Rajasthan, I was doing import-export furniture businesses. That's how I met the king of Jodhpur, Udaipur, Bikaner, Jaisalmer, everybody. I met all the kings. They helped me. So many Narasimha temples in Rajasthan. All the kings, Ishtadevs, Narasimha, always. I met the queen of Jaipur, a Gayatri. I didn't even know who she was. She was an old lady. She also was driving in a Bentley. I was at my friend's manufacturer, and she pulled up. She was getting gifts for her grandkids. She looked at me. She said, "Who are you?" I said, "Who are you?" She said, I'm Gayatri. I said, oh, nice to meet you. What are you doing? She said, oh, I just came from London. I'm just back home. I was like, oh, you live here. That's nice. She said, yeah. She said, what are you doing now? And all my manufacturers were coming, doing obeisances. I didn't know she was the queen. She said, why don't you come home for a cup of tea? I said, listen, I don't drink tea. I've never had a chai in my life. I know this is a sin. I've never had a chai. Never tried it. So she said, come, beta. And then we were driving, and then I noticed we're driving into the palace. I said, what's up? She said, oh, we're home. So then she became one of my dearest moms. She helped me a lot find Narasimha, photograph, you know. So she was very dear. She had a lot of problems but then she died in the end. But she helped me a lot with Narasimha. And through her, I met a lot of other people that helped me with Narasimha. It was all Narasimha. When I would go to Bombay, because I was white, back then, the celebrities in India, they weren't so arrogant like they are now, the bodyguards. Back then, I could approach anybody. That's how I met the Tatas, the beer, everybody. The Salman Khan, I would see them, and I'd be like, hey, do you speak English? And they'd be like, of course. What do you mean, do I speak English? I'm like, oh, well, I just came from Andhra, you know, the jungle, so most people don't speak English. So they're like, well, this is Mumbai, it's not a jungle. I was like, okay, well, I'm looking for like a Narasimha temple. Do you know who Narasimha is? And they're like, of course. And I'm like, okay, good. So can you like help me? And sometimes I'd end up at their houses. I didn't know who they were, a lot of them, but they were movie stars, producers, whatever, musicians. And then of course, who would they ask? Their mom or dad. Hey, do you know any Narasimha temples? And then they would tell me, oh yeah, go to Pune. In Pune, there's like 3, 4 on the way to Pune, or Aurangabad, go here, go there. So it was really cool how it and over the years I kept finding like I said 1,467. And I wasn't, I was anti-marriage because I saw marriage as like a chain on my neck. Not bad. I was happy for my friends getting married. They were slowing down. I was still like a Ferrari, And then one day I got married and I became like, an ambassador. And because I also again learned in my research, my thesis studies, Madhva, Ramanuja, Shankara, even Prabhupada, Bhaktisiddhanta, Bhakti, they were constantly praising the tapasya that the Grihasthas were doing. And I was like, what do you mean tapasya? When I was, single. I was never brahmachari, I didn't like this term. Brahmachari is in here, not the color. So I was very strict, And I was like, what do you mean Grihasthas doing tapasya? But then when you become married, you understand it's very difficult. Children, the wife, responsibility. Sannyasis have it easy. Brahmacharis do nothing. Puja, eat, sleep. Puja, eat, sleep, go to bed. Very easy life. It's an irresponsible life, actually. But then when you become married, the tapa begins. As a husband, you don't know your Rani's gonna wake up in what mood. the kids are gonna, maybe they're sick. You get sick, your wife gets sick, your mom's sick, it's so much tapasya, and you have to be spiritual. That's crazy. So I immediately, that's why Ramanuja Madhva Shankar gave so much praise to the Grihasthas. And they said the best way to achieve spiritual success in Kali Yuga is by following the 4, Brahmachari, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, and so I was like, wow. So then I got married, and from the beginning I told my wife, I said, listen, I have to be very clear. I was always very clear. I said, you are not number 1. And this is very hard for the Patni to hear. Because they want to be ek, always. I said, you're in maybe number 4, 5. Narasimha's first, these people second. My father and mother, I'm the eldest. There's 5 of us boys. So I was born in ISKCON. Parents are appropriate to say, so the culture is there. The eldest has to take on this responsibility of the parents. I said, and then there's the kid. And then you are there. Is it okay? She's like, fine. But it was funny, I was always used to going to India by myself. Even my parents tried to stop me when I was young, and I was like, I never listened to anybody because I wasn't doing anything wrong. And all of a sudden, when you become married, then you have to like listen to someone. It was new for me. I was like, I'm going to India. She's like, whoa, wait. No. You're not going to India. I was like, yeah, I'm going. So there was all of a sudden consequences. But I told her, I said, listen to me. Many men have bad addictions. I don't. I have one. Narasimha. So, and then she said, okay. Yeah. So it was like that, like I figured out a way, even by doing the Dharma, being married and all that responsibility, I figured out a way still to, when I go to India, that was back when I had businesses and stuff, and I don't do the business anymore. I would, I have to go to India, I have to do shopping for the business. She said, you just went. I was like, yeah, I forgot a few things. I can only see them in person, even though they could ship no problem. But then I would go and immediately go find more Narasimha temples. And then I would do my shopping and then come back home. It was amazing. And still I do it. This last trip, I'm constantly finding more temples. And people are helping me all the time. And when I did the first book, a lot of the Madhvas, Ramanujas, Shankaras, they wouldn't talk to me because I'm a white guy. So they say we're Sudras. So none of them would speak to me. Even in Ahobalam, the Jir. When I went there, he said, don't let this Sudra inside my room. 1 foot inside. So my friend Madhu spoke perfect English. And I said, what did he say? He said, you're a Sudra, you can't come in. So I said, oh, fair enough, no problem. I said, well, tell him, translate this for me. It takes a Sudra to know a Sudra. You know what this means? If I am a bad person, I can easily, if I'm a cheater, I can spot a cheater. If I'm a naughty guy, I can spot a naughty guy. So I told him, I said, oh, well, he must be a Sudra because he knows the qualities of a Sudra. I said, translate this now. Tell him. So Madhu told Swamiji, and then Swamiji was like, so he let me in. But the other guys, the Madhvas, oh man, if I came close, they would like run away. Even though I was wearing everything. When I finished the first book, it took me 18 years to do this first book. I came back to them hardly, 6 years ago when I finished this book. So 2 years ago, I went back to them and I gave them the first book. Swamiji. Some of them even would joke, he'll never do this, who is this guy? It was funny. I never took it personally. I took it as a challenge. So I brought them the book and handed them, and they were like crying. They were like weeping. And they were like, you did it. And they were like, what are you doing now? I said, well, I'm working on second book, Narasimha, the God of Yoga. Can you hand me that bag there? What? Can you hand me that bag?
Yes.
I'll show you. Thank you. So, Narasimha, the God of Yoga. Thank you. Thank you.
Sorry.
Thank you so much. Awesome. So, this book, this is the dummy. It's not the real. This is the book, but it's not printed inside. So I said, so Swamiji, I'm doing my second book, Narasimha, the God of Yoga, because I heard for 20-something years, Narasimha is the God of Yoga. Yoga originated from him. Pure yoga. The yoga to control the chittas. And how Patanjali is a descendant, he's Adisesha, but he's a descendant of Prahlad Maharaj. So in my research, I was like, wow. So Patanjali in his sutras, he's talking about this Narasimha yoga, where Narasimha is talking to Prahlad about controlling the uncontrollable mind, chittas. You should not be controlled by the senses, the body, and the mind. And you should not be ruled by anger and fear and envy and jealousy. So when the Swamijis, they were like, so what can I do to help? I said, well, now you can finally talk to me and tell me, why is Narasimha the God of yoga? So then they opened their doors, they were very kind. So this is the second book, the mock copy. Let me see.
Yay!
It's a lot thicker, it's heavy. So this book will focus on Narasimha temples, of course, in many different states, but focus on Narasimha, Yoga Narasimha and art, iconography, like Shilpa Shastra, and then Narasimha devotees, so Ramanuja, Madhva Shankara, the lineage of yoga, Shiva's relationship with Narasimha as the god of yoga. Shiva says he is the god of yoga. There's a new guy who says Shiva's Adi Yogi, which is total nonsense. Shiva never says this. Shiva's devotees never say this. He's like a new self-proclaimed guru, Sadguru. I also knew him. Now he says he is Shiva, which is crazy. So all these saints have a relationship with Narasimha as the god of yoga. So in the second book, I'm focusing on that. So it's going to be an amazing preaching tool for pushing Sanatan, not preaching, more stating a fact. Narasimha is the god of yoga. Why, how, when, and where. How it started. And then Prahlad Maharaj is the most incredible saint, yogi, and almost like a life coach. If you look, his father tried to kill him, torture him. The last words his father said was, "My son, I'm going to take your head from your torso." Can you imagine your father said this to you? We would all be in therapy for our whole life. Crying. But no, Prahlad didn't hold any grudge. Prahlad wasn't angry at the people torturing him, poisoning him. Prahlad wasn't angry at his father. This is a true yogi. They have no fear and they have no animosity, anger, jealousy, or resentment. We all have that. So Prahlad, in essence, he didn't have to go to therapy. Narada didn't have to come counsel him. He immediately moved on in his life and became such a powerful life coach. If you read his prayers, he talks about, don't get stuck in the dark well of family life. What does that mean? It doesn't mean family life's bad. It means you're overshadowed by all this responsibility. The Shri, the woman, can never be happy, satisfied, the nature. So he says, don't get caught up in that. Do your duty, be respectful, but understand the nature of the Shri. It means all-consuming. It's like a fire, it can constantly eat. So why are you trying to, you cannot satisfy your wife and your children. So be detached, do your duty. Prahlad talks about this, it's so relevant. So, amazing thing. So yeah, this book will be promoted by Mr. Modi next year. He's going to launch the book with me, and the first book, and all the different state representatives, tourism department. Because the first book I didn't launch in India. I only sold it in the West. It's like sold out. So I felt bad. So I'm launching the second book. Mainly priority is India because it's from India. So if any of you guys want to get reserve your copy, I would say do it now because the books are already being sold out. And then the second, third print run will happen. So you can order it from me by Zelle or whatever, through Prabhuji, you can figure it out. And then all these deities and kavachas and pendants you see on the table, I just came from India like 10 days ago. They were all with me at all these Narasimha temples. So I would take all the idols and put them on the main Murlava. And then we would do Abhishek, Puja, and then do a Havan, the Brahmins. So they're very invested. And you have to worship Narasimha at home. And as a deity, for home, it's not strict. Only strict worship is temple. Home deities can be very, the most important is a diya. Of all more than flowers, incense, actually even more than boga, is the lamp. Because that's Shri, that's the goddess. So I always tell people, have a deity, worship him, or a kavacha. If you have a small deity, take him with you everywhere, put him in your pocket. It's not so strict. Prabhupada said it. Home worship is not fanatic. That's for the priests in the temple. You know, their standards. Home worship is very lax. You don't have to have installed deities at home. You can, but it's trouble. It's better to just have home deities. It's more of a daily commitment. You wake up, you do a little lamp, breakfast offer. It's more like an everyday commitment type of a thing. So if any of you are interested in anything, obviously after I can show you. And if you're interested in the first book in America, I only have, I think I have 10 copies left. And then if you want to get the second book, It'll be in America. It's arriving on the 15th of Jan, and then I'll ship it to you. It's only $16 for shipping. So if you're interested, let me know. And anybody have any questions about Narasimha or anything? Anybody want to share anything?
So different forms we have seen, right?
Yeah.
The way of sitting and all those things. So can you explain like
Prabhuji,
what
maybe
is
the
meaning to
microphone
that?
we need.
Oh, he wants to know about the different forms of Narasimha, like there's different aspects. Yeah, that's another thing that's kind of cool. When I first started, in Ahobilam there's 9 forms, and I thought there was it, but in the Upanishad and in the Puranas it mentions there's 72 forms of Narasimha that are worshipped by different devotees, the sages. Obviously there's unlimited, you can't put a number. And there's forms where, there's one of my favorites is Girija Narasimha, which means residing in a cave, waiting for his bhakta to come, Girija. And then there's Kanaka, which your wife likes very much, and Garuda, carrying Narasimha with Lakshmi or Prahlad. Because Garuda was so sad, like, normally he carries Vishnu. He was like, my lord, did I offend you? Why didn't you let me carry you to kill Hiranyakashipu? He came out of a pillar. So he blessed Garuda with this form of Kanaka Narasimha. You carry me to this place where me and Prahlad will do yoga. Then there's Chintamani, which is one of my favorites. He's holding the Chintamani flower. Sometimes his hand is on his knee or he's blessing. Chintamani flower has 1,000,000 flowers on it. And when you pluck one, another one grows immediately. So it's like unlimited wishes. So Narasimha, this is a very bhavish, almost like rasic form. Because if you come to him, you can ask anything. He'll fulfill your desires, Chintamani. This is a tribal form in Karnataka. And then there's Kevala Narasimha, where he's sitting with the knee up, and then he's holding his chakra, and he's in yoga, his eyes are half closed, but he's holding the chakra very peacefully, just in case, to show that though he is in meditation, he is there to protect his bhaktas. Then there's Jwala, which is emanating flames of fire. This is the moment when he decided I have to kill Hiranyakashipu. So he burst into flames. And then he started picking him up. Now, does everybody think Narasimha Deva was sitting when he killed Hiranyakashipu? He wasn't sitting. The sitting is on the ground. Even if a chair, it's grounded. So this would break the moon, Brahma. No, he was standing. Moreover, he was dancing. So as he's sliding Hiranyakashipu up, his nails are he knocked his crown off. Some paintings, he has his hand around his throat. He's digging his nails in his body, and he's pulling him up, and then he's getting ready to tear. That's called Jwala, Jwalamukhi. He's very angry. He's like, I've had enough. Chaka chaka, you know. And then you have the emboweling, this Ugra aspect, which is very merciful, because it's not that he's like killing him. Of course he is. But he's tearing out the problems, envy, jealousy, and pride. And now I'll wear that, protect you from those things. And then there's a form where then it's so powerful. He was so angry, he obliterated Hiranyakashipu's body. And then all the demigods and everybody were like, oh my God, where did Hiranyakashipu go? Did he disappear again? They all started crying, oh, we're going to be finished. But even Narasimha Deva is mentioned in the Upanishads. He looked down and he said, where did Hiranyakashipu go? And then he looked at his nails. You know how my nails are dirty now? From the Havan? Bits of his body was in his nails. And then he started laughing. And this sent shockwaves of fear. And then he flicked his nails. And then all of Hiranyakashipu came out of his nails. That's why they say Ahobilam. Hiranyakashipu is so blessed. His whole body is Ahobilam, where Narasimha resides. So, and then there's the form where he put his foot on Narasimha, on Hiranyakashipu, which he never did, on Hiranyakashipu's dead body. To put the Lord doesn't just put his feet on anybody. So he put it on this demon. There's that form. There's Panchmukhi Narasimha, 5 different heads. There's a form where half of him There's Stanu, he emerged from the pillar. That's the one in Mayapur. We're not actually supposed to even see this form or worship it. But sometimes in ISKCON they do things without asking, and this is what happens. So this form is you're not supposed to worship this form. Because when he emerged from the pillar, he was looking to protect the boy and find the demon. It's like if a father is here and the son is getting tortured or beaten and he can hear him, and he gets up to run to find, and somebody's asking, oh Prabhuji, can you help me do this? Oh Prabhuji, can you give me this? Can you imagine? You're not thinking of helping, you're thinking of protecting the child. So this form of Stanu is not supposed to worship this. But anyways, he's there in Mayapur, he's amazing. And then just after that form, half of his body, his left side, his eye, was looking towards Hiranyakashipu, and he was raising his hand, because he had 16 arms, and one finger he was pointing at Hiranyakashipu. He's like, I'm gonna get you. And then the other eye, he was looking at Prahlad, half of it, he was smiling, and he was blessing. That form, another form we shouldn't worship. Then there's one where he has 32 arms. There's Swayambhu in Andhra, there's all these Swayambhu forms. So that freaked me out. The first time I went into a cave and I saw these big eyes, I was like, what? What in the world? What is this? They're like, Narasimha. I was like, where's the deity, the idol? No, Narasimha. Swayambhu. I was like, what? Swayam, what? They're like, and then of course, it means self-manifested. So if you're doing tapa in a cave or here, you're sitting in front of this wall and you're meditating, and you have a vision of Narasimha on this wall becomes Narasimha, Swayambhu. So I was like, that is so far out. This is mainly through Andhra, mostly, these amazing Swayambhu. So great devotees, Bhrigu Maharishi, Agastya, all the Saptarishis, Nardrishi, they would be doing tapa and Narasimha would manifest. Sometimes there's a shalagram, like Shankaracharya found this shalagram in the Ganges when he was doing tapa. That shalagram is in Joshimat. So, I mean, the forms they blew my mind. They absolutely blew my mind, the different aspects. Agni Narasimha, there's one, Lakshmi Yoga Bhoga Narasimha. This form is where he's in yoga, totally meditating, but she's trying to get his attention with love. So she's sitting on his lap, only looking at him, offering flower, not even looking at us. Yoga Bhoga. It means her love is so satisfied and happy, and he is also in ecstasy, complete. Yoga Bhoga. And of course in Ahobilam you have Pavana, Mohaloa, Karanja, Chatravata. Veera is awesome. He's fighting. That's the form where he's fighting. So, yeah, many forms of that. Any question? Yeah?
Here they
Prabhuji, in Simanchala Devsthanan, there is a Narasimha deity which is called as Varaha Lakshmi Narasimha. And when I visited there, the deity was looking like a Varaha avatar. So was it, what is actually, is it Prabhuji?
Well, that form is, do you want me to put this on?
Yeah.
That form is a pretty amazing form. When Prahlad was thrown off the mountain, if you want, we can take this out.
Yeah.
Or should we leave it? Yeah.
It's getting more.
They're getting purified.
Yeah. It sucks it out, it's fine. The smoke is actually very auspicious. It's like the most auspicious. But we can do this so it goes
okay
out.
for now.
Yeah. So when Prahlad was thrown off the mountain, of course Narayan caught him and brought him into this cave. They say this cave is there in Ahobilam near Jwala Narasimha. They call Prahlada Varada. So Lord Vishnu was crying, oh, I'm so sorry. What can I do for you? Ask me anything. And Prahlad said, please show me, give me darshan of this form that you killed my uncle, Hiranyaksha. And please let me see the form where you're going to kill my father. So then this form came, Varaha Narasimha. He's Varaha's head, he has the tail of a lion, and the nails, and yeah.
So he says the Varaha.
So it's two forms in one. That deity is in Simhachalam. That was another deity, he's small, he's like this big.
Yeah, this much also. Yeah, correct.
When I went there for the first time, you know the Brahmins like to sleep a lot, especially the big ones. So it was the day before all the chandan comes off. The chandan was already off, and everybody was sleeping. Even the chokidars, the police, the watch guys were totally asleep. But the temple door was open like this much, and I was skinnier. Before I got married, I was skinnier. After marriage, a little bigger. So everybody was sleeping, so I slid through. I was like, and then inside the temple, all the Brahmins were sleeping in the corner, snoring, you know, so they couldn't hear me. And there he was, Lord Narasimha. So I went up to him and I touched him. I put my head on his feet. He's teeny. He's actually like this big. And I was like massaging him. And then I sat there and I was just chanting my rounds for maybe 30, 40 minutes. And then the Brahmins woke up. They didn't even see me. They were just like going outside. They had to shower. And then they came back in and they saw me there. I scared them. And they didn't do anything. They just left me. And then they did their thing. They didn't kick me out. This was in the 96, you know, a long time ago. Now it's a big business. You have to get a ticket. And everything becomes about the lineup. 500 rupee darshan, 1,000 rupee darshan, blah, blah, blah. Everything is like this now, unfortunately. But it was pure, it was powerful. So I took advantage. I always tell people, get the mercy when you can. If you can, get the mercy. Don't, where's another one? And if you have a chance, like I was just in India, and there's an abandoned Narasimha temple. Vines are covering everything. And I did, I'll show you. I have a video here. See this? This is the abandoned temple.
Why that is abandoned?
So many temples are abandoned in India. Thousands. They just stop. Nobody cares. They want to steal the land. So one of the real things is, look how beautiful he is. This deity is like 8 feet tall. Huge deity. You can go there and touch him, massage him, hug him. So I brought one of my very dear friends there. He was crying. It was so beautiful. A lot of these temples, they get abandoned. All the dynasties in India are gone. These big kings, the Hoysalas, Vijayanagaras, Cholas, Pallavas, Choras, I mean, you name it. So many powerful kings. They're all dead. Their descendants are gone. Their descendants don't care. And the temple goes into ruins. And then somebody from the outside moves in, steals the land. This is unfortunate, but the way it goes. But I'm renovating this temple and so many other temples I've managed to renovate. And I don't care if they stole the land, it's not my problem. But the temple should be renovated and the puja should go on. This deity is 1,500 years old. So imagine the power, you know. And the first time I found him, I was looking for him for 20 years. I just found him 2 years ago, by chance. Because his whole temple is literally covered in vines and trees, like Angkor Wat. There's just a small, and it's almost buried, so you have to and there was a leopard living in there. And when I went there, I went inside the temple, pitch black, and I felt this power. Not scary, but like, almost like your father has been waiting there. You took too long at the store to buy groceries and he's waiting. Hey, what took you so long? This feeling I had, and I was like, my hairs were standing very, very amazing. And as soon as my camera crew came in and they put the light, I was like, oh my God. His whole body was covered in mold. He hadn't been worshipped for like 100 years, you know. This toxic green mold. Hopefully I won't die early because as I was cleaning him, you know, breathing it in. So the village came, the kids, my son was also there. He was a young boy. And we were scrubbing, eating, and we did full abhishek. And then I was paying this Brahmin for the last 2 years to do puja every day, morning, evening. Still going, but now my friend is going to renovate. This very wealthy guy. So this happens, and those are my favorite temples because you can go there and touch him. Hold him. Tell him how much you love him. Put your head on his feet, massage his feet. I mean, this is ecstasy. This is what we want. This is bhakti. Bhakti is not so black and white, you know. And because I studied the Vaikanasa traditions, the Pancharatra is just like 2% of Vaikanasa. We don't do Sandhavan, all this heavy stuff. We actually have it easy in ISKCON. We do nothing practically. And we're still too frenetic. Those guys are like hardcore. You can't even like, you know, they can't even be anywhere near their wife for like 2-3 weeks sometimes. Like the Dodi has to stay in the temple. They have to take bath in the temple. It's like amazing. And so I studied both traditions, and I love them both. So I know how difficult it is to be able to touch a deity. So if the temple's abandoned, I'm going to touch the deity. Like this summer, I'm doing a big tour. I do tours every year, 2-3 tours. We're going to go to this temple, 2-3 other abandoned temples. We clean the temple. We do abhishek. Everybody, men, women, children, take the mercy. Have to. And, you know, yeah, if any of you are going to be in India, you can come. I just, you know, generally people give me just a donation, $400 or $500 or something. You come for a week, come on it's unbelievable. And experience this while you can. I even brought these women there. One is very famous girl, influencer. Another one is a socialite in Mumbai with the Times of India. Her Kuladev is Narasimha, and she was doing abhishek and she was like shaking and crying because, you know, women don't normally do that. I said, you have to do this. You have to get the mercy of Narasimha. He is your father. Your father's never going to kick you away. He loves you, even if you're not perfect. So go do abhishek. So it was a very amazing experience to see their love, you know. So